I personally like the idea that we are responsible for our own life.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not relying on others to provide me the utilities to help me get through my life. I am looking after them myself.
Have you ever dreamed of going off-grid, just getting away from it all, disconnecting from everything? It sounds romantic, and there are massive benefits, lifestyle, financial, but there's also a very practical side. And we're going to share with you what it's really like living off the grid. Welcome to Australian Homesteaders podcast. Today's episode is about living off grid. We're talking with Deb and Dan from Simply Off-Grid Australia, and we're going to dive right into the different ways you might be off-grid on your homestead, what sort of system requirements you might need, how much they might cost, and a few tips about how to live off-grid and still enjoy the lifestyle you want. Let's jump in.
Okay, so they live on an 11-acre property, 3 generations, trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. And they look after pretty much every aspect of their life, from their power, their water, their food, schooling, through homeschooling, even rubbish collection. They have to manage that all themselves. Recently, just in February, you guys did Feb Veg, where you ate vegetables all month just to figure out what you wanted to grow in your veggie garden based on what your family likes, which is a great way to approach it. So you're not just growing stuff because everybody says you're supposed to grow up, but stuff that you're actually gonna use. So they try to remember and implement what they've been taught from their grandparents and pass it on to subsequent generations, their kids and grandkids. So welcome, Deb and Dan.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
It's been an exciting journey to get here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Is there anything we kind of missed there that pretty much cover it? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think you pretty well covered it. The remembering what our grandparents taught us and trying to pass that on to our grandchildren now, that we think is something that's important to encourage.
Oh, definitely.
So did you guys talk about your grandparents? Did you guys grow up kind of off-grid in a rural area, or did you move from the suburbs into like this lifestyle you're doing now?
So we were sort of in the country growing up that ended up being more the suburbs. But my grandfather actually had a chicken farm, and he passed away many years ago. But we're now getting all this information from my dad and my uncle and auntie. It's filtering through all the sort of things that they did, what sort of feed they used to grow for their chickens, and what sort of veggies they used to grow. And
my grandfather lived overseas, but he always lived rurally. He always lived on land. So he always tried to be self-sufficient for himself with his animals and produce and his water and everything. And he always had a vision that it would be him and his children and his grandchildren and everything living on his property. He never got to realize that before he passed away, but we're hoping to carry that on and try and do that on our farm, on our lifestyle.
Okay, lovely.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So okay, so you didn't start here in this kind of generation, but why did you give up life in the suburbs for, the off-grid free change?
well, we wanted our kids to be a little bit more free and not living right in the busy hub of the city. Well, it ended up being very city-like.
So that if we ran out of milk, it was a 5-minute walk down the road and you could buy milk and you could buy all your groceries and eggs, and everything came in a plastic container, or it was just readily available. And we got very consumed with watching River Cottage and
Same.
So, and that had a really huge, we started off with the Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall version of River Cottage, and that had a massive impact on us and started to make us really accountable for what we were doing and consuming. And we thought, this is crazy. Our children need to understand where all this comes from. So
absolutely.
We gave it all up. We just decided we'd had enough.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
6, maybe 7 years
8 years ago, 2015, 8 years ago this year.
All right.
So-
So when you guys moved to your property, there was like no main services going to that property at that stage?
When we moved to our property, there were 3 trees, one of which has subsequently fallen over. Provided firewood, but that was it. There were 3 trees. There was nothing. So all the infrastructure that's required to live off grid, we've put in since we've been here. And that, you know, whether that's been fencing or dams or providing power or whatever it is, we've built all that since we've been here.
Okay.
Lovely.
Well, what's interesting about, say, 6 or 7 years ago is that there wasn't as much information accessible back then. There wasn't all these places where you could easily source the products for an entire solar system. There wasn't multiple Facebook groups. There wasn't lots of YouTube. Like it was tough. Like, so you had to, that must have been like quite a big research phase for you when you were first getting set up.
Well, you did a lot of research, even back before we even bought our property. You were doing research on batteries, solar, how many batteries you'd need and how they work together. And I had no idea. But
So I was going through that process of trying to learn what a watt was, what an amp was. How did that impact my daily life? You know, because when I flicked on a switch, it didn't tell me how many watts or amps I was drawing.
No, that's right.
So I started learning about that process, and then I started learning about wiring, and then I got very involved with caravans. Like I wasn't working within caravans, but caravans started to come out with 12-volt solar systems on them that were, you know, they provided the water. They had water in them, they had lights in them, they had all this. So I started to get a bit fascinated by that. And that led me down this road of, you know, what a solar charger was, what the solar controller was, what, how many batteries were in a caravan to provide the pump with its power and lighting
and what amp hours meant. And, you know,
and how long was it going to last? How long was 100 amp hour going to last?
That's right.
100 amp hour battery going to last?
I remember that research phase when Corey was like research, and I was, exactly. So what's a watt again? And what does that do? What does a watt do? And like, what does amp? So what's an amp? So what's a volt? And I'm like, can you just, what is all this stuff? And I asked him so many times. I think it's kind of sunk in by osmosis, but I don't know how well I could explain it to somebody. I just know how it works in practice now a bit more.
Well, we were very much the same. It's not something that you use all the time. So you tend to not, I tend not to remember exactly how it all, you know, what it all means. But at the time I was just self-consumed in it. And Deb would ask the same questions, you know, what's a watt? Why do we need watts? Why do we need amps? If we've got a battery, why isn't everything working?
It became very much our way of life. When we first moved to the block, we moved into our shed. We fitted out our shed. And it was very much our way of life of, well, how much is that going to take and how long can I use it for? And we were back to a basic sort of almost camp situation, weren't we?
So when we first moved into the shed, we had one 100 amp hour battery, a 600 watt inverter, a 150 watt solar panel. That was our entire off-grid setup for
okay.
So
even our water, we would gather our water from a local campground in 20-gallon drums and bring it back. And use that. We do that every couple of days. And it was interesting when we first moved here. We did that for about 6 months.
Okay. All right. So can you tell us a bit more about the evolution of that kind of system? Like, that's what you started with. How many of you were living in the shed at that stage? And what was the evolution of that system?
So 4 of it, well, when we first moved to the block, there was 5. And then our eldest daughter moved overseas. So it brought us down to 4, which was great because we used a lot less water, a lot less fuel for the Jenny and
Yeah.
a lot of power. So that took a lot of pressure off our system. Just one person took pressure off our system. And then as things came available, or as we could afford it, we upgrade our system to more batteries.
So
Yeah.
I was very, I was always watching the Super Cheap website for sales or the Repco website for sales, and watching their deep cycle batteries to see when they had a price drop on them.
Yeah,
And
okay.
whenever those deep cycle batteries went on sale, I would go in and I would buy 2 more leads to hook them up to the battery and another battery. And I just continually built. We ended up, by the time we finished, we had a 3000 watt inverter, 600 watts of solar, and just over 600 amp hours of battery capacity.
Yeah, okay.
All still only a 12 volt system. So it was all running through a Renogy 12 volt system. And at that point, we were still running a 12 volt water pump for our showers and everything on the block.
Yep.
We were running a 12 volt lighting system in the shed. And
We had is it Jolco hot tap?
yeah, the gas camp hot.
Ah, yes.
That's
what we use for the shower.
Yep.
But eventually we just built on that to a point where it was sustainable for us to live. The inverter would run the fridge overnight.
Yeah.
Keep everything cold. So we would run the fridge all day and the inverter would keep the fridge going all night. And we would find sort of around about that 5 o'clock, as the sun got off the solar panels, is when the Jenny started.
Yeah.
And we managed to successfully kill 6 Jennies in the time frame that we lived here.
The Jenny started. We started the Jenny.
Yeah, we but we killed 6 Jennies in that time frame because we asked a lot of it.
All right, so 6 generators in the time that you were in the shed, or
6
so
generators.
how long was that? How long were you in the shed for?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, that's 6 Jennies in 2 years.
Yeah,
It's
right.
Pretty harsh.
We've actually worked out the problem
Yeah.
in why we killed so many Jennies.
And what was the problem?
It all comes down, it came down to airflow across the generator shed.
Ah, okay.
So we'd effectively created, I installed, and this is all learning, we didn't know a lot about it at this stage. So we're still learning this process of what it means to be off-grid. So I installed a big car fan in the generator shed to extract all the exhaust fumes out of the shed.
Okay.
And that in itself was creating a negative pressure inside the shed. So every time you walked away, the door would close.
Ah. Okay.
And of course, that might get rid of the exhaust fumes, but it doesn't do any good for heat. The heat still builds up.
For the cooling of the machine. Yep.
Yeah. So, unlike a car, there's no temperature gauge on a generator.
Yep.
And we were unaware. So we brought a couple of old generators with us, which are the first 2 that gave up. And we could never really afford, being off-grid, we could never really afford to go and buy good quality generators. Yep. So we always went for I wouldn't say the cheapest option, but we always went for what we could afford, the best we could afford at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
You buy stuff to suit your budget.
And hey, we're living off-grid. We didn't have a big budget, and we had to.
Yeah.
But we've just recently resolved the issue with the generator shed, because we've recently had a Gentech 8 kVA auto start generator installed.
Okay, lovely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upgrading. Have to upgrade the system, more people at home.
Yep.
So we have to
Okay,
upgrade.
so but now you're kind of in the ultimate upgrade. Tell us about that transition between your shed and your solar and what you've kind of ended up with now. Like, did you, the shed was all DIY, the system for your house must be much bigger. Did you do all that yourself?
No. So when we were nearly finished building, we basically just about to move into the house, and we got someone to come out and design our solar for 4 people.
Yep.
and for everything that we run within our house, which was fantastic. And then about 18 months ago, we upgraded our batteries to double our battery power, didn't we?
Yeah, so we started with 14.4 kilowatts of storage capacity on our batteries. And look, even though someone designed the system for us, it didn't come without issues. So we found that with a small storage capacity, it was still very easy to trip the system. You know, if you're trying to run too many appliances at the same time, it's still easy to trip the batteries. So it was important for us to get those batteries upgraded to really mitigate that tripping.
Yeah.
And I think for us though, because we were back to almost a camping situation, we learned to go without a lot of power and then build back up to more power. But even at that point, we still got to the point where we went, oh, we can't use that. We can't use those things together.
Yeah.
So what are the specs of your current system then?
Okay, so we've got 6,600 watts of solar. We've got a 6 kVA solar inverter. We've got an 8 kVA battery inverter. We've got 28.8 kilowatt hours of battery. And we've now got an 8 kVA auto start generator. So as far as we're concerned, we shouldn't trip the system.
No.
But we're still very mindful about our power consumption as soon as the sun comes off the panels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask, and you don't have to give me specifics, but what sort of ballpark price are you looking at for a designed system of that size?
So our initial system with the one lot of battery, which was
14.4.
and the solar panels was around $32,000. Because we put it on while we were building, it was within the build cost, keeping in mind that if we were to connect to mains, it was going to cost us at least 60,000 to bring it from our mains road down the driveway, and then another 20,000 up to the house.
Underground cabling, it's not cheap.
So it was the cheapest option for us to go solar.
Yeah.
That
was a big driving point for us, as well as we don't have monthly power bills, but you do have to replace batteries and solar panels at some point. So you've got to keep that in mind.
What sort of lifespan are you kind of factoring in for there, like with replacements for solar panels and batteries and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so the solar panels we're expecting to get about 25 years from. The batteries, again, depending on how we cycle them, whether we're draining them down very low and then charging them back up, and you go through those cycles, a lot like an iPhone or a laptop. The more it gets drained and the more it charges, the faster it wears out. We're sort of anticipating that we're going to get about 10 years out of our batteries.
Yeah.
And that's based on how we manage the power more than what the manufacturer is saying to us we should get out of the batteries themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And what sort of batteries are they? Are they like lithium or lead acid or?
It's all a lithium system.
Yep.
So there's 2 banks of 14 kilowatt lithium batteries.
Yep. Lovely.
Yeah. And it works well. It's so far, since we've put it on, we've been able to run, say, an air conditioner and the washing machine and the oven at the same time without having the system trip. It doesn't mean I can go over to the shed and, run the hoist or the air compressor or the drop saw or anything, because that'll tend to set it all off. But this is living off grid. You start to become very aware that you need to be mindful of those moments. If there's a lot going on in the house, going into the shed and starting everything up doesn't make any sense.
Well, it is our weekend conversation. It starts off with, what's your plan today?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're doing that, I can't do this. That's fine.
Yeah.
So,
and naturally, this all comes down to like price as well. Like if you want to go and drop $150,000 on a solar system, you can pretty much do what you want. but
Yep.
the average person can't do that.
No, well, we were having this discussion about if we hadn't gone off-grid while we were building our house and
Yep.
the cost of the off-grid solar could be consumed within the build, is it really viable to go off-grid on a suburban block where power's right at your doorstep? Because $32,000 is a lot of power bills
Yeah.
for,
True. Yep.
you know, what are you ultimately saving in?
Yep.
Would you spend $32,000 across 10 years on your power bills?
Well, I know our power bill we budgeted for our old place was about $3,000 a year.
Yep.
Right. So you work that out, 10 years, 30,000. Are you going to be in that house for 10 years?
Yeah.
You know, these are the questions.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we had the same thing, like this place here, it would have cost like a lot, many tens of thousands of dollars to get power to this place, to our cottage here. So that's why we went full solar. And that was budgeted in as part of the build. Ours came in at around like the 12 grand mark.
12.2 it was, yeah.
12.2, and we installed it. Like once we got a Sparky to do the 240 stuff. So what's the details of our system?
5.5 kilowatt of panels.
Yes.
Got 28.8 kilowatt of lead acid batteries.
Yep.
It's a 48 volt setup, and we got a 5,000 watt Vitron Quattro inverter.
Right.
And that's basically it. It's a very simple setup. We do have like the charge controllers and that sort of thing, but apart from that, that's it.
So like you guys, when you designed yours for like 4 people, we designed ours for 2, essentially. And with the understanding that we would actually be reducing the way we consumed energy on here as well. You mentioned that you designed it for 4 people, but I get a sense that has the pressure on the system expanded since then, or
Just a little. Our eldest came home and had a baby.
Yeah.
So that's 2 more people. And then our middle daughter's boyfriend often stays. So yes, it has.
Do you charge him board?
No. Well, it's hard to charge board when their perspective of our life is everything is free.
free?
Free.
Yeah, well, there is that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, it does take more draw. So that was one of really important things about our system, was with the lithium batteries, that we can add on as we need to add on, and as our power consumption rises.
Yeah.
We didn't anticipate that would happen, but we did ask them, you know, if we need to add, can we add? And that was one of our biggest things. So yeah, we had to add another battery bank, which we actually added that about 18 months ago.
And it's not a cheap process. I mean, the way we've done our system, I don't know how it would relate to you guys because yours are 2 volt batteries, is that right? Or 6 volt batteries? 2 volt batteries. Yeah. So ours is effectively a 48 volt system as well. Yep. But every time we add on another battery bank, we're looking somewhere in the range of around $8,000 to $12,000 for another 40 kilowatts.
So it takes a bit to save up for that kind of battery. And then we've recently had to add a generator.
But I think that would be the advantage of your system over, say, our system, wouldn't it? Because you guys could go and pick up, or could you go and pick up another couple of batteries and just now series and parallel again? I get a bit confused about which one to do.
Can you explain in detail the difference between what's a series and what's a parallel for me, please?
All I know is one increases the voltage and the other increases the air.
Probably that's why, because we learnt this in homeschooling like last time.
But you guys could effectively take more 2 volt batteries and just add them in smaller numbers to improve your total amperage, couldn't you?
So it would have to be like in a set?
No, it would have to be in a set.
Yep.
So we couldn't just go and get 2 more batteries and add it to the system. So we've got 4 shelves.
Yes.
Each shelf is 12 volt, and then they're wired in to create a 48 volt complete battery.
So you would
go on.
Yeah, you would have to create another 12-volt set.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably another 48 volt set.
Okay.
right.
So we've got 48 volts at 600 amp hours now.
Yep.
So if we wanted to double that, we would need to go another 48 volt setup at 600 amp hours, and then that would give us a 1200 amp hour system.
Do you guys find any limitations with your system? Like, is there any limitations that you have to shut it down overnight, or can you just run it as you would at home?
All right, well, we've got things like, we only have one air conditioner in the bedroom, which is a 2.5 kilowatt air conditioner.
Yep.
Our house construction is made out of these insulated structural panels. So they've got foam in between. They're about 150 mil thick. And we also have double glazed and tinted windows.
Yep.
So when we close everything up in the morning on a hot day at, say, 8 o'clock in the morning, and turn the air conditioner on in the bedroom, essentially that cools the whole house down for that. We still have a fridge, freezer, TV, computers on, random stuff being charged. We have a washing machine. I don't think we've run
we've made
everything at once.
No. We've made a conscious choice not to get a lot of big appliances,
Yeah.
big wattage appliances. So we know that we can at least have a few things going on at the same time. We always check it. We can run the aircon overnight. And the first night we did it, we basically left it on after the sun went down, kept on like checking the power, and that was all. There was like more than enough storage in the batteries for that.
Yeah.
But that's because we are a lot more conservative in other places. You need a generator for your welder.
Yep.
Is there any other shed stuff that you need your generator?
No, it'll run the drill press, the lathe, the drop saw, like the metal drop saw, all my hand grinders and drills.
So sorry.
Oh, sorry, Amanda. I just wanted to take it off topic for a very quick second,
Yeah.
second, because this is something that actually interests me.
Yep.
Corey, you said you need it for your welder. You need a generator for the welder.
Yes.
Is that because you don't want to run the welder on the off-grid system, or you can't run it on the off-grid system?
I could run the TIG welder off the off-grid system, but I wouldn't run the MIG welder off it because it's a 250 amp like MIG welder, and it's designed to have a 32 amp plug. So I've actually cut the plug off. Someone else actually cut the plug off, right? And we've put a 15 amp plug on so I can run it off our generator. So I can't use the welder to full power, but I can use it to probably just over half off the generator.
No, it's just something that's always interested me because I've got a little welder as well, but I refuse to run the welder on the off-grid system because I figure ultimately it's cheaper to replace a generator if I cause any damage than it is to replace the solar system.
I was talking to someone the other day about that, and I was worried about the electrical pulses or waves that the welder creates, like running back through the off-grid, like the inverter system, if it was going to upset the wavelengths or something. So I think it's just easier just not to. I don't know. I mean, you can, like, no problem. If you've got a big enough system, you can run a welder off it. You can get these things called super caps, which are big capacitors, which take that initial surge of power. So it's all doable, just comes down to
money.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you guys would live an on-grid life. Like as far as your consumption and use for your power and everything, it's just like being on grid, isn't it?
Well, like we don't like we modified our life going into this, but now this is just normal, right? And it's like it's such a stark contrast. Like we did the work before we got here, like mindset.
Mentally,
it's the mindset, right? It's a completely different way of living. Like so, like the shift in how we think about how we consume our resources available, not just power, water, like everything we need to consume and manage is completely different now. And I think that's like a big difference between, people that are thinking about going off grid or getting solar systems, that it's not just about the tech, right? It's about your everyday living, how you approach that, how you think about it. What's kind of some big differences for you? Like what sort of appliances do you guys have? It was, I mean, you were in suburbia with like normal suburban on-grid live, but then you paired it right back to almost camping style, and then you've kind of expanded again. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So when we're in the shed, like even to run a vacuum to vacuum our shed, we had to run a Jenny to vacuum. So when we moved into the house, we did a bit of research and we ended up buying one of those battery chargeable vacuums.
Oh, yeah.
So we charge that when we have a sunny day, we'll pop that on charge and charge it right up, and then you can vacuum whenever you like.
Yep.
But if we're having an overcast day, I would not charge that. I would leave it off. We have a 900 oven, which we hardly use because it just takes so much power to heat up.
Electric oven.
It's an electric oven.
Electric oven.
Yep.
So we've then gone and bought a Ninja Foodie because you literally turn it on and it's heated within 2 minutes and you can roast that immediately.
It's a really small space. And I think our oven consumes the 3,600 watts.
Yeah.
And you think 3,600 watts over a prolonged period of time to heat it up, whereas the Ninja might consume 2,000 watts, but it's heated in a couple of minutes.
And of course, when you're wanting to do roasts and things, it's at night. So you're taking that out of your battery. That's not from the sun. That's from your battery.
I think, as you said, Amanda, though, the big thing we got.
They can't see the comments.
Oh, they can't.
Sorry. Is in the comments asking what we're all drinking.
Yeah.
Sorry,
right. Well,
Apple and guava cordial.
water.
Okay, water and.
There's something wrong with the colour of your water there.
Yeah, the water's really
Water
good.
and the not water.
Liquid courage.
Courage.
Sorry.
That camp mindset, when we first moved into the shed and we effectively look at it as though we were camping, that really put us in the right headspace to what we needed to look at with regards to water consumption, power consumption, our food and everything.
For those things like, for those of us who still iron clothes, not many of us, but you don't iron unless it's sunny, because iron takes a lot of power.
Yeah,
that's right.
So tell me about some of the other appliances you've got and what sort of considerations you took into account when you were like buying different things.
So we have to upgrade our fridge soon. So this is something we're going to have to do research into, looking at how much power it's going to take.
Yep.
But we also bought, our other vacuum, one of these robot vacuums.
Yep.
Oh,
so we bought one of those Roomba vacuums again because it can charge during the day and then it uses its own battery to run around and vacuum the house, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
It really came down to being very conscious about the Energy Star rating on things like the fridge, on the water pump, on the dishwasher, on the washing machine. So we made sure that we bought the highest energy rating appliance that we could for both water and power on just about everything that we looked at.
Unfortunately, some of those do come at a higher cost.
Yeah.
But it means some of our things we had to wait a little longer to buy because it took a little longer to save up for that appliance.
Yeah.
Did you guys did you include dishwasher in there, or was that washing machine? Do you have a dishwasher?
We have a dishwasher,
What's the power consumption on that? Because we chose not to go with the dishwasher because anything with an element or heating element is going to consume a lot of power, and dishwashers, I think, heat the water in it, don't they?
They do. So luckily our dishwasher has we only use one setting on our dishwasher, and it's the lowest power setting. I actually can't what it is, but in a normal house, you would turn your dishwasher on after you have dinner. It's your day's worth of dishes, and then you turn it on after dinner. We can't do that. We put all our dishes in at night, and then in the morning, if it's sunny, we turn our dishwasher on. If it's not sunny, we don't turn our dishwasher on. They sit there until we get enough sun. So it takes a little bit more thought. You don't just go, oh, the dishes need to be washed and you turn it on. You have to think about it.
Yeah.
What are some other examples of that, like how you have to use things differently,
So
like off-grid compared to how we used to?
Yeah, same thing with the washing machine. So our washing machine, again, it's got an element in it that heats the water.
Yep.
And there is days where we'll say to our older girls, you can't do washing today because we don't have enough sun and we've got a couple of days of it being overcast.
Yep.
So we can't wash today, which comes with its challenges when you have a baby in the house and, you know, you go through a lot more washing.
but this is very different to the on-grid lifestyle we had, which was, you know, as you're walking through the kitchen to go to bed, you turn the dishwasher on, and as you set the timer so that the washing machine's ready when you get up in the morning so you can hang the clothes out before you go to work.
Exactly.
We don't do any of that now. It's basically the sun's up, the dishwasher's on, the washing machine's on.
Yeah.
We did also install a dryer, which, you know, sounds a little bit
I remember
excessive.
the video.
Yes, but it's a little bit excessive for an off-grid system.
Yeah.
But we couldn't justify the amount of power that was being consumed by a dryer, you know, even during the day. Yeah, you know, because if the dryer's running, then you really have to think about, well, can I now run the dishwasher and can I run the washing machine?
Yeah.
I'd rather run those two than a dryer because we can just hang clothes outside.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you want to use a dryer through winter where you're having less sunshine. But we have a wood fire, so we tend to just, you know, dance.
my greatest friends.
He hates the clothes era. He seems to think it's where he walks, it's in his way.
I could go and open the door during winter. I could go and open the door on the car, and the clothes dryer would be in there. I guarantee you.
No. But anyway, I mean, our flue actually goes upstairs to the upper floor through what is our bedroom, and we quite often have a clothes dryer just beside the flue.
Oh yeah, okay.
Our clothes.
Yep.
In the day, so we don't need a clothes dryer.
Yep.
So, okay. So what do you do for hot water? What's your are you gas hot water? Are you electric system?
We are gas. We're a Truman. It's Truman, isn't it?
Thurman or something.
Thurman. Yep.
The old Thurman. So when we designed the house, we originally wanted to put on a solar hot water system with a gas backup. And then at the 11th hour, the plumber talked us out of it. He told me that it'd be too much effort to plumb up to the roof to put the. So whether it was because where we live, we couldn't get trades to come down. So we had to bring trades sort of 3 or 4 hours away from them to us. So whether it was just he didn't have time to install it, he just went, no, it's easier, just put this on. And we effectively just now run a gas hot water system.
Yeah.
We go through for the 7 of us, and one of our daughters and her boyfriend live out of the house. So we have a granny flat type unit for them.
Yeah.
And they're using our old camp shower as their hot water.
Yeah.
So effectively 5 of us in the house use one large gas bottle, which is
9.
Yeah, like 45 kilos, I think.
45. That's one.
Yeah. About every 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty standard for those. We've got the same hot water system as well. I think it's a 21 size or something. It's like just to suit like a small amount of people. And we've had that gas bottle on there for many, many months.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually we have a whiteboard in our pantry that we actually write, whenever we've changed it out, we write the date just to sort of track how much gas we're using, because we cook, our cooker is gas, our hot water's gas. We don't have a gas heater.
No, that's all. So all the oven being electric, we have a gas cooktop. Yeah. And we try as much as we can to use that over the oven now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, before we move on to some member questions,
Mhm.
I want to pose something to you. The benefits of being off-grid, beyond just no power bill. When people are sort of weighing up, oh, is the cost with my power bill, is it worth it? What are things outside of that kind of transactional, just like, I don't have a power bill now?
Well, I personally like the idea that we are responsible for our own life.
Yeah.
You
10
know,
out of 10, Dan.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not relying on others to provide me the utilities to help me get through my life. I am looking after them myself. So I like that aspect of being off-grid.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the accountability of, can I run those appliances? Can I, have the rain head on in the shower today because, I'm buggered and I really need a good shower.
No.
Yeah, the answer's always no. It was a great install for a no. But yeah, I think that's one of the big benefits for me. I think it puts more accountability back on ourselves for our own lives.
It does. And when something goes wrong, it is on our shoulders,
Yeah.
not someone else.
Yep, that's right.
I'll
just go on. Sorry, you go,
I was
Dan.
just going to say, when it just one of the other things that I was going to raise earlier and I forgot, was when it come back to why did we get a solar system installed by someone?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Was more that I understood the first system we had really well, but Debbie didn't. And if I wasn't here, what happened if the power went out? I wanted someone else to be able to say they could come and help, resolve any issues and not look at, what I'd dodged up or whatever it was to get it going. It was really just getting that security for the entire family.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to.
No.
That makes total sense. That does.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I was just going to sort of touch on just a little subject. So just for some people in the comments here. So our system is a 5,000 watt rated system. You said yours is a 6,000 watt rated system. Now, just to put that into some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Perspective, right? Our water pump that supplied water to our old house when we were on grid was 3,000 watts, right? A kettle draws anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 watts, and a good toaster is probably around 2,000 watts. So if you add all those watts up and you've got those three things on at once, you're overdoing your system. Hence why, like, our water pump now draws 400 watts. We have gas to heat, like a gas kettle. So we do kind of consider watts. And when someone says, oh, I'm just going to get this or get that, like, we couldn't get an appliance that pulled 3,000 watts and just use it willy-nilly. So that's kind of the perspective thing you got to look at when you talk in off-grid systems.
You do. You very much have to look at how much power it's going to use and how long it's going to use it for. So we're currently looking at trying to get a dehydrator for our property. Our issue is, if we're using a dehydrator for a long period of time,
24 to 36 hours.
Like I think Rachel's
solar
dehydrator, something like 24 or 36 hours.
Her fruit roll-ups.
That's unachievable.
Yeah.
Or unless you're going to have a auto start generator come in, but then you are paying for your power.
Yeah, that's right.
And it all comes down to budget too. Like we said before, you spend 10,000 or do you spend 100,000? I mean, you can run whatever you like, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you in the setup.
Have you guys looked at how much power your house consumes overnight in standby? Just, running the fridge and the freezer and
I haven't. No.
So we've worked out with ours, we burn out of our total capacity to run our house overnight. Now, this is keeping TVs on standby and, phone chargers and computers and whatever else.
Yep.
We burn about between 10 and 12% of our battery capacity just to run those things overnight.
Yeah. It adds up, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And if you you come off a night where you have overcast days, it starts to add up really quick.
Keep in mind though, like we built this house just for us two. We've got 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. It's just over 100 square meters, which is our last house was
260 or something.
260 square meters, 4 bedrooms, study, multiple bathrooms,
10-foot ceilings, like
just it was ridiculously big. But yeah, I would be interested to find out. I know once no, we do monitor, like when we started using the air conditioning overnight, we did monitor the system to see like if it was like dropping or drawing or anything like that. So, and then we've just gotten into the groove of things like that. I know because I would go and turn off my computer overnight, but if I don't turn it off overnight, then it's not a big deal. It's not going to stress the system. We got a fridge with an inverter,
fridge. It's an Electrolux fridge. It's like so many star power rating on the good side or whatever.
So yeah, be interesting to see, but no, we don't track that. So
it makes life interesting. I mean, it's our constant conversation of, what's the power at? How much are we taking in? How much are we?
Well, that probably goes good, like flows really well into our first member question. Honeybee, Mel from Honeybee Farmsteaders she dropped a few in the comments of our event. She asked, do you miss anything about being attached to the grid?
Well, I suppose the only thing I would miss is maybe just not having to think about what you're running, just going, I want to do this right now. But in saying that, I also like the thought of being responsible for what I do.
Absolutely.
So, do you miss anything?
I think the only thing I would probably say I miss is, again, that freedom to walk into the shed and go, I'm going to turn the compressor on, or I'm going to run the drop saw without really thinking about it. Which we would have done previously in our old house. That doesn't exist anymore, but that is such a small price to pay. I don't know that it would really warrant, not being off grid.
No,
I totally agree.
So what do you love most about being off grid is Mel's next question.
Well, probably the reduced.
Seeing on Facebook that in town everybody's power's gone out and you never notice because yours hasn't.
But especially here,
sorry,
often has blackouts. Or even we did originally when we first moved to our town. We lived in town for a year or so, and they often had brownouts.
Oh, there was.
And we have got no idea here. Just oblivious. And quite often, like our neighbour up the top, we can kind of see their lights. And some nights we're like, oh, they've got no lights on.
Because they got no power.
Because they don't have power, but we do.
I love the fact that we're collecting our water. I love the fact that we grow our own food. I just love, the money side of it is lovely for me, but I love the space that we have being off grid too,
I think too, like teaching our kids to be responsible, like even their rubbish. It's not, I finish with that and put it in the bin and forget.
No.
It's not forget, because we actually have to then sort that into, is it soft plastic? Because soft plastic is normal rubbish. Is it hard plastic? Then you need to put that in the hard plastic bin. Cans, it all has to be sorted. And then it doesn't end there. We actually have to take it to the tip and then empty them in their specific areas. So it's teaching our kids to be responsible, not just for their power, but for the rubbish and the things that they're consuming. I mean, our compost and chickens and dogs, they all get fed very healthily because anything that you would normally put in the rubbish bin, in being on the grid, if you had leftovers, you would just put it in the rubbish and forget about it. We don't have,
we've all done that.
Yeah.
we don't have any food products in our main house bin.
Yeah.
If it's food, it has to be put into compost or go to the chickens or to the dogs.
Yeah. And just things like, you know, like we had a teenager in our house, right, growing up, and, you know, you open the fridge door, and it might take 8 minutes to decide what he wants to get.
Yep.
You know, like, I think you know what's in the fridge before you open it. Like, you made it 30 times.
I love it when they come back to the fridge and open it again, thinking it's going to magically change.
Has it changed?
5 seconds later, I'm still hungry.
We've got a tween, you know, our youngest is about to turn 13, and he's great at that. Walk up, open the door, look at it, walk away, come back, open it, look at it.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Nothing's pre-prepared in our house, and
No.
you've got to cook it.
Yeah. But I think when you said it's about being responsible for your own life, and that's what we like totally agree with. Like, we're responsible for, you know, our sewage system, our own water, our power. You know, we're hoping to have a good sort of autumn winter garden happening for food, you know, and it's just, don't like relying on other people to do stuff for you, basically.
I don't like the idea of you put it in the bin and it becomes someone else's problem, or, you know, you throw it away and it becomes someone else's problem, or whatever it is. I like the idea of, you know, I have to think about what happens to it after its purpose. You know?
I think when we first moved here too, when we lived in the shed, we had a composting toilet. So we were basically pooping in buckets.
Yep.
And we had to process that out in a pit. So it made us think very much about how much toilet paper you're using.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. How much water you're using when you flush your toilet. It made us really think about things in a different way.
Yeah.
I've actually been really surprised at how many appliances and things like that don't tell you how much power they use. They might say, oh, this appliance will, you know, cost you X number of dollars per year, or something. They have these weird ways of assessing it, but some of them don't list it at all. And it's just like, oh, tell people how much power, because people don't have a concept of how much power they're using. And I think that's something I appreciate, is now I know how much power, like, we were thoughtlessly consuming. And that power, again, has to come from somewhere. Like, and it's coming from something that is not a renewable resource. You know, obviously all the components of a solar system has to be manufactured and produced, and there's waste in relation to that. But compared to the amount of power we're using, without thinking about it, it's like it's nothing in comparison. Like, people, like we talk about freeze dryers in the group, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that could be nice. But when we looked into it, when they run for 48 hours, and that would take up like the bulk of the power in our system, Corey's like, well, plus it needs its own circuit, you know, so it's just having to think through everything, looking at dehydrators, like trying to compare the power usage of all the different dehydrators and weighing up like size and that sort of thing. We bought a slow cooker that's like 200 watts, but it's a 3 litre, it's tiny, you know, which is fine for us too, but that might not be, you know, useful for, you know, a larger, even a slightly larger family that need a much bigger one. So I really appreciate the different perspective it's given me on our usage. And I don't think I couldn't go back now. That it just
we're very much the same, Amanda. We don't think we could ever go back either. And, you know, as nice as it is to just flick on a switch and everything happens for you, I really don't know that I could go back to that lifestyle again.
I totally agree.
Went back to an on-grid situation, I think you wouldn't be trying as much off the grid, because you already know to turn things off, to not leave things running.
So one of the big
there is that, but I think it would just come like after a while, like, I will just leave the air conditioner on, you know, we're going down the shops for 4 hours, we'll just leave the aircon on so the house is cool when we come back, you know, like just things like that.
One of the big tips that we learned early on in this piece is, you know, just giving a kettle for an example. if you're going to boil a kettle, how much water do you need in that kettle? If you're only making 2 cups of tea or 2 cups of coffee, you only need so much water in that kettle to boil. That will actually consume less energy over time than boiling a full kettle of water every time.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really started us on this journey. That's what, the moment we realized that and we started becoming accountable for how much energy we were consuming, that's what really pushed us down this road of wanting to be off-grid.
Yeah. Corey and I, because we come from a construction, we're tradies, come from a construction background. We were working on a house once where someone had an air conditioning system installed in their alfresco area, and we're just like, how is this even legal?
Yeah.
Like, how is this? I don't understand.
It was an open alfresco, nice ceiling,
2 sides
basically
open.
just brick columns, like, and it had these air conditioning vents in the ceiling, and
I'm
we're
just
like,
like
"Are you
the
joking
homeowners
me?"
probably thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
This is just going to help, like, you know, make this area a little bit more comfortable. And it's to them, it's just a bill, but power is much more than a bill, because that power has to be gotten from somewhere, and it's drawn from unrenewable resources that are causing like pretty significant damage to our, you know, to our environment.
Yeah.
I'm often saying to the kids, you know, you have the aircon on a really hot day, and one of them walks in the back door and leaves the door open. Don't need to cool you outside. It's okay. Just inside.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having an aircon.
In an
Actually,
alfresco. No, that's
Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, we are coming up to the 1 hour mark now. So I want to just say, is there any final things that you want to add? Is there anything that I should have asked you but didn't? This is your chance to.
Just opening the iPad.
I think look, we pretty well covered the off-grid power component of, you know, this chat. I think, you know, being off-grid isn't just all about power though. Being off-grid is about water. Being off-grid is about rubbish. Being off-grid, you know, we actually don't have any utilities coming into our block whatsoever, aside from internet, which we get wirelessly. That's probably the only thing that we have off-grid. But no, I think we pretty well covered everything.
Yes, I think that was quite thorough, and I think we answered most people's questions. You know what? If we missed anything, jump into the chat, guys. Deb and Dan might scroll through the comments and pick up on anything that we missed asking. Just so we don't go for another half an hour. But I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us today about being off-grid, because there's so many people that are moving into that lifestyle, interested in that lifestyle, and this is what we call like real life off-grid. So you've got like a couple of different like perspectives here. We've got like a small, just us 2 household. You guys have got like multiple people in your house. So hopefully this was enlightening for everyone. Can you guys tell us where people can find out more about you online?
So we are simply Off-Grid Australia on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, although I'm still learning how to use those social sites. Give me if I don't get back to messages or accidentally join things.
No, we're discovering. But,
and we'll drop links in the comments and to all this as well. So
lovely.
I guess all I would say, if anybody's contemplating living an off-grid lifestyle, you know, don't overthink it, because if you try to overthink it, you will never do it. We hamstrung ourselves by not getting here sooner because we could never work out how it was going to happen. And one day we just went, well, we've got to do it. So we jumped in, we did it, we learned, and we love it. You know, so just do it.
Yeah, work out the bits as you go along.
All right, wonderful. That's a perfect note to finish on. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching. And we'll all catch you later. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, folks. You can find Corey and myself at Rockpile Off-grid Homestead on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And remember to head over and join the Australian Homesteaders community, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.